Good morning. It's Friday, November 15th, and it must be time for another legislative update from your North Carolina Medical Society. We're back.
We're close to the end.
We feel like it. We're halfway towards the end. So one chamber has adopted the adjournment resolution. The other chamber is still working.
But contingent on some things happening.
Exactly.
So they're not gone today.
Yeah. So let's talk first about some deadlines. Today was a big day. November 15th was the day that we were expected to have transformation money in place from the state. It was a day that we were expecting some kind of CMS kind of approval of moving forward with Medicaid transformation, and it was a day that you were supposed to be contracted or in some kind of relationship with the various new PHPs in order to make sure that you were open to be chosen during auto assignment for your patients, to be matched up with your patients.
So even though there is some uncertainty about our timeline, would encourage you to go ahead and sign up and be enrolled, because we want you to be a part of that auto assignment process whenever that happens. So we're unclear if there will be any type of delay, but really want to ensure that you preserve your relationship with your patients who are Medicaid.
Right. There was talk this week of the legislature passing a third Medicaid budget. So they passed it originally in the big budget. They passed a mini budget with some corrections that the department had requested. There was talk of them doing a third one. That fell apart due to a lot of different reasons. But the governor has vetoed the big budget. He's vetoed the mini budget. So
mini budget just for transformation.
Yes, that's right. Well, yeah, for DHHS. And so we don't really know if there's going to be money for transformation. The question, though, that we're asking right now is there enough money in the continuing resolution budget, the statutory continuing resolution, to keep Medicaid going as it is right now. So we've dropped back from the expansion debate or the helping working families debate, back from the transformation debate. We're back down into the weeds of...
Let's take care of the population we already have and ensure we have funds for them.
Right now.
Right.
Yeah. And we still have questions about that. So we'll be bringing you an update, I guess, next week about what we've heard today and the first of next week about how we're going to kind of move forward. But it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty about the February 1st go live date now with transformation.
Especially if they go home this week or today or next week without that, any type of Medicaid transformation additional funding.
Right. Yeah. So as Sue Ann said, what we think is most important is that you have every opportunity to preserve your relationship with your patients. So as we've been doing all along, we're encouraging you to contract with all 5 plans, get into some kind of relationship there. There are multiple ways for you to figure out how to drop out of those plans if your patients are not auto-assigned there or don't choose to enroll there, or if you have problems with them later, there's a notice process for you to get out of that. But if you don't sign up with them, then it's likely that your patients are going to be assigned to other physicians, other providers that are signed up. So again, even with a possible delay out there, today's the day. Get out there. See if you can't figure that out. If you can't figure it out today, see if you can't figure that out soon. And then let's be ready for whatever timeline occurs down the road.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing, the reason that actually we came back was for congressional maps.
And important to point out that the legislature is not under a proposed timeline to get back a new map. And there was a lot of discussion, I think we talked to you about last week, on even if the court ordered them to draw a new map. So a lot of back and forth on that.
Yeah, they're going off some language by the court that encouraged them to do this but didn't require them to do this. So there's no deadline. But they're trying to work quickly, because if they don't get this done pretty quickly, then filing starts in just a couple of weeks.
Right.
For office, which means filing could be pushed back, which means
just for
primaries,
congressional races.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Primaries could be pushed back just for congressional races.
Right.
So statewide races, the state legislative races would all seem to go on schedule. This would kind of be carved out, it looks like.
So the House has already passed their version of the map and has sent that over to the Senate, but it's still unclear at this point if the Senate will take up their map today or create a new map or come back next week with a completely different plan. So that's still also up in the air, and that'll happen later this afternoon. We'll know what the Senate comes up with.
Right. And remember, they're trying to get to... It's like 770,499.
Yeah,
I mean,
you got
right? exactly the same number of people in all 13 districts for each of our U.S. House districts. So because we don't all live in uniform places across the 100 counties, some of those look really interesting.
Funny.
Yeah. And so that's the controversy, is it's still talking about what counties are divided and why those counties are divided and what cities are divided and why those cities are divided. And they're trying to come up with what seems to be most equitable
And most
across everybody's,
compact,
and most compact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So still waiting to hear about that. That seems to be the thing that would hold us up in not closing down the legislature today, but coming back next week.
But that seems to be their number one focus
Yeah.
this week, and kind of the top priority. And we haven't seen a few bills have moved, but that's been the top priority.
Yeah, it was nice to see disaster relief funding move. I think that was
Yes.
very important, especially with all that you've done to support your peers and our outside grantors to support your peers in reopening after hurricanes. It was nice to see the legislature prioritize that money this week.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so when we adjourn today or next week or whenever that is, we are set to come back January 14th, so you get a break where the legislature is going to be back home full-time, probably doing some interim meetings, but they will not be passing legislation between now and January 14th, but we'll be keeping you up to date on
Once they adjourn.
Yes, not be passing legislation then. Yeah, we'll be keeping you up to date on what's going on, how you can interact with your legislators, the things that they're studying in the interim, which always occurs, conversations kind of getting ready for the next session. But until then, look out in your news to see if they're sticking around and what the congressional districts look like. And we'll be back to report to you next week on what we know about Medicaid and Medicaid transformation.